Hi everyone, this is Carolyn Koesters coming to you from the William King Museum of Art in the Education Wing, and I'm going to be showing you a sneak peek of what we'll be doing in our art journaling class, which takes place the first Saturday of every month. I'm going to do a real quick and easy beginner's art journal page right here in front of you, and let's get started. First, I'm going to take two different colors of acrylic paint. This can be any kind of, I usually get the supplies at a discount store or a Walmart or a place like that because I don't like to pay a lot for my supplies. That way I feel like I can be real generous with what I'm doing. So I'm just kind of randomly putting paint that I think will look good together when they're somewhat mixed. And I'm going to take one of these cards that you get in the junk mail, and I'm going to spread kind of thinly all the way around all of these pages. And I'm going to mix just a little bit of the red and the yellow, and I just want kind of an overall coverage here. I really like the way it spreads out really thin, plus we'll be able to dry it very quickly. And with this excess, I'm just going to go ahead and put this on a page back here. I like to have one going at all times, so we're going to do that. Just pick that up with a napkin here. So after this gets pretty much spread around and I like the way it looks, I'm kind of just putting a background that has a lot of bright colors on it. Art journaling doesn't really have any rules. I like to think of it as total personal creative freedom. And it's really the blending of art and writing and emotion, because to be honest, this could be a done page. If you keep going, you can do a lot of new things. I'm going to take a moment to dry this so that I'm ready for my next layer. And I do put some kind of a plastic or wax paper sheet behind the page so that if it does tend to drip, it goes to a different, it won't go to all the different pages. So I'm just going to dry this for a little bit. Okay, I'm ready for my next step, and I think what I'm going to do on this page is add a little bit of Mod Podge with napkins. So I went to a discount store, and in the party section and usually in the paper section, you can find these really awesome packs of napkins, and they're either 2-ply or 3-ply. And what you want to do for art journaling is separate the top pattern part from the back. So it just takes a little bit of work to kind of separate that. And you're going to pull that apart, and it just means that you're going to have just a thinner layer, and that's going to go quicker when you Mod Podge it. So I think when I look at this, I'm feeling like I want to use these really bright colors. And all I'm going to do is just rip up a couple sheets just like this, and then I'll probably rip them in half again. And I am not really planning this as I go. I have a couple things in mind that I might want to do, but I don't really plan it out. I certainly don't have a sketch. And the next thing I'm going to do is use some Mod Podge. You can find this at any discount store, any craft store. And I'm just going to put a layer real thin, real fast, where I want the first napkin to go. And I'm just going to press that down. And I do it underneath, like this. And then a little bit on top just to seal it. Now this is a gloss Mod Podge. There's all kinds. So you can get a matte finish or a gloss finish. I think they may even have a glitter finish. And I'm going to put these randomly on both of these pages and add a little bit on top there. And that's just, it's not only a glue, it's also a sealant. And this is going to add a little bit of texture and layers to art journaling. So this page right now is starting to build a layer on top of a layer. And like I said, there's no rules. This is basically me just exploring, and I think that's an important thing to talk about, which is exploring the creative part of art journaling, which means this may be the first time that you are digging out paints and color and playing in a very long time. And certainly in art class, there's a lot of room for exploration, but there may be a little bit of hesitancy because we learn that there's a right way and a wrong way to do that, and here, there's none of that going on. So the first thing that I usually tell all my students is if you want to just do paint, if you want to just do colored pencil if you want to only rip out magazines and do collage. They'll ask me, is that okay? Is that right? And I'll say yes. Whatever question you are going to ask me, the answer is yes. And some people just really want to hear that it's going to be okay. And that kind of frees everybody up. And there's not a lot of sharing of personal, if you're writing something important in your journal, we don't pass it around. This is a very personal kind of experience. So now I feel like I really like, I think I'm going to want one more of these stripes. I'm going to put that over here. Feels like it just wants a little bit of balance here. So I'm going to do that. And I really like how the different color dots are popping out there. So again, I'm going to just spray that, I'm just going to spread out all of this Mod Podge just a little bit more, make a sealed page. And I'm probably going to go for 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 layers today. I'm going to dry that. Alright, so right now I've got a nice dry page, and I'm going to add a little bit of stenciling. Stenciling can be added with all kinds of different media. You can use spray bottles such as these that I made myself, which is just a little bit of food coloring and some water. You might also add a little bit, a tiny bit of pigment into that paint. And there's also a lot of professional brands out there. So this is a fun one that's called Glimmer Mist by Tattered Angels, and this is going to spray nice and dark. And I think I'm just going to do that for some contrast in some of the corners here. So I've got a couple stencils. I like to make my own, but these are pretty simple. You'll also find these at craft stores and discount stores. And there's a lot of ways that you can use stencils, even though this just looks like pretty straightforward. And it is. Let me show you how to do this first. So I'm just going to hold this flat and spray lightly. And that is going to give me a nice square. And I'm going to use the reverse of this. And you can either use a brayer or your hands to make the reverse. Again, this is turning out kind of like a balanced page, which is kind of unique. That's kind of cool. And I'm just going to wipe that off with just a baby wipe that I have handy, and I'm also going to get my hand a little bit. So then I'm probably going to use a little bit of, this is actually a tapestry stencil. It's actually a tapestry canvas, and I think I'm going to add a circle right here. And that's going to have a nice circle there. I'm going to use just a little bit, I think, just for balance over here. Good. Okay, so I like that so far. And I also like how it's kind of bringing the colors together. I'm also going to do some blotting just a little bit before I dry. You can see how some of it has covered the napkin, and that's kind of what I was going for, is all these layers. So I'm going to dry this again. Alright, and I think I'm almost ready for my final phase, which is a little bit of collage. I almost always use a little bit of collage. Recently I've been getting into putting figures right there onto the page, but I actually don't Mod Podge the person right on there. I would use her as a stencil. And I think while I look at this now, it's fun, but I'm probably not going to use that one. I like using some words. That one looks like it's kind of interesting. I also have old dictionary pages that I go to thrift stores and get 25-cent dictionaries. You know, I really like this right now. This seems to be working, and I might be able to kind of smoosh a little bit of that yellow and red on top of that to make it a little more cohesive. And I also like this. So I'm going to do just a little bit of trimming here. And again, I'm going to use that Mod Podge. Now, I spend a lot of time just flipping through old magazines. I don't have that many subscriptions, but I have a lot that are donated to me, and you also get a lot for free at the thrift stores, or libraries sometimes will help you if they're getting some out. I think I'm going to actually use 2 words here. And this is actually the Japanese symbol for clarity, and that's an important word to me this year, so I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to use this spot right here. Now, I know that I have a little bit of that black on my pen, on my brush here, and that's okay. I'm going to use another layer and seal it. If my brush gets too dirty, I don't want to stick it back in the Mod Podge, but I think I'm just going to do this last sealant here. And then I'm also going to Mod Podge the words. Now, in the class that I teach, we have about 3 hours to do all of these different designs. We have almost 16 pages or so that we can cover in paint and collage and really explore all the different techniques. This is just a really small part of what we do in class, and it feels very open, very relaxed, and a very kind of supportive atmosphere. So if you've never tried art journaling, this is a perfect place to go. And if you love journaling, you can also just use the time and bring all of the goodies that you already have and continue working in the journal that you've got. So I think what I want to do last is kind of bring these elements together with a little bit of, I'm going to dry this up, and then I'm going to add a little bit of red, I think, to bring it all together, and then we'll be pretty much done. And I think one of the last things I'm going to do is use a little bit of washi tape. Washi tape has come into favor in the last, probably 3 or 4 years. There's all kinds of colored tape that's out there, and again, at all different kinds of stores. And as I'm looking at this, even though this is kind of almost the reverse of a sun, it really reminds me of the sunshine, and since it's the very end of February, I am ready for that sun to come out. And I think that'll be part of the feeling good that I've got here on this page. So I'm just going to add just a couple strips of this washi tape, and they have all kinds of decorated tape and all kinds of colors, and you can really go nuts trying to find a lot of different supplies. So I try to keep it to a minimum at the most. And then I think one of the last things I'm going to do is add a border so that I feel like this is a cohesive piece. And one of the things I like to do is add a border, usually with a Sharpie. And I'm kind of mimicking a little bit of the dots that are already on there. And then I will probably take some time when I come back to this later and kind of finalize a little bit of the doodling, maybe with a white pen, maybe go through and add some more marks. And these aren't complicated by any stretch of the imagination, but repetition really helps bring a piece together so that I know that it feels finished. So yeah, I think that's about good. I might do a little bit more around here, maybe with a small black Sharpie or maybe a black paint pen, but that would be all finished. Thanks for joining us.